right, folks, howdy, howdy. Back for more. It is Leonard Robinson, your your host for the evening, and we are continuously working on this scene here, as you can see. And let's see here. As you can see, you can't see me, but that's okay. In fact, that's not a problem at all. All right, so let's see here. Play through. We got our gal going off into the distance there. She dives off. Lovely. All right, so we'll go back in here and let's see. We can do some painting. Well, actually, I think we're painting. That's right. We are painting everything because we've got all the stuff we need. So okay. So let's get her skin color. We have set up with the color is behind her. So let's. Let me see here about well, let's try that. Oh, well, okay. And the hands. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see, we should put full colors there setting on the color. There we go. Let's see. Little tiny areas here when you get the color in. Teensy areas. Right on the top of her ear. Okay, and go back up a little bit. The hands are being pushed outwards. There we go. All right. Once again, I would like to remind anyone if you are interested in classes, I do teach online classes, and my classes are one-on-one classes. So I do them this way primarily because I think it is of a lot more value to the student. As I have said in past videos, I believe strongly in one-on-one classes, primarily because everybody learns at different rates. And so that way I'm able to give you, the student, my undivided attention in a class where you are sharing that class or sharing the teacher. In my opinion, I think that as an artist, particularly artists, because of our varied abilities and varied areas of interest, in some ways, doing a one-on-one class is much more effective and helpful, in my opinion. And I think it's true in almost any arena, but it isn't always practical it isn't always a practical way to do any kind of class, because obviously there's going to be a lot of people that may want to take a class, and everybody, it would take a long time to get through everything if everybody did what I'm talking about, if every teacher did one-on-one. The Jedi rule: there's a master and there's an apprentice. Well, I think that's if you're learning how that particular artist does what he does. I'm of the belief that every artist brings something very special and unique to the table, and so my job as a teacher would be to help you to bring out whatever quality it is that you have individually as a student, because every my experience with not just with teachers but with fellow colleagues, artists, I see such variety in the way people think as artists that in my mind it just seems like it makes sense for artists to get individual training, that their training should be very individual and specific to the artist. Just because it's just the way we are, we aren't. Every artist is not going to be the same, you know. So realistically, it would just make more sense, in my mind anyway, to teach each person separately. So that's what I do, and I teach classes in animation. I teach classes in storyboarding, and I also teach classes in character design. So if you have any interest in any of those types of things, and you would like to take a one-on-one class with me, feel free. You can contact me through through the YouTube here if you like. You can just drop a comment down and share your interest, or you can email me at lenordrobinson@yahoo.com, and you'd be able to contact me that way, and we can do the classes. The classes are not very expensive. I try to keep the cost down. Um, Pretty much all of my classes are under $350. I do have one type of class I do that is a mentoring thing, which lasts for almost an entire year. That's the only really expensive class I have. It's $1,500. Um, and and my classes also are designed for what's it, affordable. So, and by affordable, I mean that instead of having to pay for the class all at once, if you like, you can pay for it in installments. That way, you can break those payments up over several weeks if you like. Whatever works for you, whatever you think makes the most sense. I'm interested primarily in helping the student to get what they need as an artist. So that's the way I think about the whole thing. So yeah. Also, if you're interested and you would like one of my sketchbooks, I do have a sketchbook on the market. It's $10. I'd be happy to do a drawing in it for you if you like. I advertise it. I have a blog that I have my sketchbook in, and I don't. I'll probably put it in this video. If I don't, for whatever reason, it's going to be in other videos. I do have it mentioned in the descriptions in some of my other videos. All of my contact information, which I should probably put up on my um, on my page, just to make it easy. So you can just always access the page. But I do have that available for people who are interested in purchasing merch. I am going to start providing merchandise. I haven't quite yet, but that is something that is coming. So I will keep you all abreast of when that happens. I haven't got it all worked out yet, but it's in the works. So there you go. All right, there we go. Let's see. And the green eyes. Go.
Swing by Habit for the $10 Gotta Have It meal deal, featuring a half Santa Barbara shark, 5-piece chicken bites, your choice of side and a drink. Ooh, seeing the price like this is a little concerning. Should accounting approve this?
Well, if you heard that, that was in the background there. That was a commercial from YouTube. Let's see here. I bring that paint size up a little bit. Here we go. The paint is set for behind the. It's set for behind, so that the paint is working underneath the line, but it's also working underneath other colors. So that makes it a little easier. Whoops, got into the eye a little bit. Makes it easier to work underneath other colors as well. So very handy. As you can see, I use the paint bucket for the big areas like the background. All the areas that are white, like the teeth and the eyes, it's just the white of the page. You're going to find a lot of times too, like with the different programs. Let's see, did I color the eyes? I did. The white of the page is going to be very different than painting white. One of the things that I kind of notice about Rough Animator is that if you paint white, it doesn't actually look white, but you kind of need to paint white sometimes because some areas are going to be so tiny that it's going to be probably to your advantage to paint those areas first, so that when you go in and you swath in large amounts of color, that you're kind of covering the areas that are bigger first, so that you don't have something like what just happened there, where your color seeps in to the like see it's seeped into the hair there. So I have to put a block in there to keep the color from drifting up into the hair. There we go. Yeah, because it's real easy for that to happen. There we go. Hmm. Hmm. Sometimes I'm kind of surprised when the color doesn't seep out of certain areas, but one thing I notice that with a lot of filler programs is that if the fill color senses an area outside of the parameter where the color is supposed to go, if there is any kind of line that's close to that area where the closure would be, it'll detect it, and sometimes it will stop at that line. Rough Animator seems to be pretty sensitive from what I can see. It seems to notice that quite easily, so that's kind of nice actually. See, like if I take the paint bucket here, so I'm just curious as to, yeah, it seems like it's kind of staying within, yeah, that's good. So yeah, it's kind of staying inside of all the hair areas. Yeah. But see, like it's real easy now. I can paint and go over the flesh area because I know it's not gonna. I know I'm gonna be painting behind the color of the flesh, so I don't have to worry if I run over that flesh a little bit. That's gonna be okay. Or if I run close to the forehead like I'm doing here, same thing. The only bad thing is I have to, when I'm dealing with like wisps of lines like here where the hair is kind of going out to an edge and sort of dissipating, then I have to draw it a little bit more carefully. But each stage of the painting gets a little easier as you get toward the end of painting everything, because since the color is always going behind the line or behind other things, then it just makes it easy as you start getting towards the end of painting something. You can be less and less concerned about messing anything up if your paint goes slightly into another area. It's going into that area, but it's going underneath the color.
Nothing like just being on the boat on the water. I love everything happening.
Oh!
Tastes like candy.
Let's see. Okay. All right. Paint bucket, and there's the blue. See, I just love this because see, I can just swath that color in there without having to be careful about the edges. You know, love it. That's so much fun. Yeah, there we go. I made a little bit of mistake with the color around her chin, though. Probably could have been a little bit more careful with that. Okay, she's getting closer. And as she gets bigger, see, that's another sort of plus, really, because it means that I can be less I've got a bigger area to paint, which is great. So, I think what I'm going to do is paint her lips later, and the reason why is because I'm trying not to change the size. Let's see if I can do some drop in color here. Oh yeah, I can. I guess. Let's see. Wait a minute. Let's back out of that. Let's do this. And then let's drop this color in. Yeah, I kind of like that better. Yeah, that's good. I'm not a big fan of having to change the size of my brush too many times in the course of painting one image. But sometimes it's just unavoidable. Because if you have little areas, you're just going to have to change the size of the brush. There's no way around it. If you don't want to go outside the line, that is. If you don't care. But we care now, don't we? Yes, we do. We care. Now let me just go ahead and make this smaller. So right underneath her chin here. And right above her eye. Right below her eye. There we go. And then the thumb right there. Good. So here, now we'll do the lips. There we go. And the hair. Let's see, I think we can... Well, let's see. Maybe we can go a little bit bigger on this because the ends of her hair. Let's see if we can do that. Swipe in on that. Alright. Let's see how much of this filler is going to work. Not a whole lot. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. Yeah. If you're skillful with your brush and you can, draw your color in and hey, sometimes you might be able to get into a tiny area with a thicker brush, because using the brush digitally is not that different actually than using it actually. So, okay, they're pretty close. Okay, they're pretty close. Let's see. Right. And up there. Do. Nice. It gets easier as you're painting bigger areas. Of course, it's going to get a little easier. Well, it depends, I guess. Generally speaking, I think it gets easier. You don't end up having to change the size of your brush too much, which I don't like to have to do. I can avoid it. Paint bucket on the background. And then we can swipe that wonderful color into these little areas, indicating the background, and that is so satisfying. There we go. Very nice. I find that the look of a slightly rough drawing in color in some ways is actually kind of pleasing in comparison to doing something where you clean the line up perfectly, and then I don't know. I mean, it's a matter of taste, I suppose. It's up to you. Everybody sees this in a slightly different way, but I personally enjoy the rougher looking sketch with color. I think sometimes that looks nice, or it can anyway. So we'll save that. Yeah, it's a matter of taste. Yeah. And as I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to probably add some bubbles when she's underwater. But when I do that, I believe I'll be doing it straight ahead on top of the existing animation, which I think will give it a nice look. And we'll see how that looks as we get to it. All right, good people. Once again, this is fun. We'll stop here. Have a great day. Don't forget to thank your Lord. Thank our Lord who's given us the talents and gifts that we have. Give him praise and honor and grace and credit where credit is due, and that's where it's due. Jesus is Lord. We love him. And whether you believe he is or not, he still is. Anyways, but be thankful. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay, see you tomorrow, folks.